Welcome, everybody, to this November 2024 transmission. And yeah, wow. Where will we begin? And I'm a little bit bleary eyed because I've been feeling quite tired recently. I'm traveling. And I know a lot of you have been going through really deep processes since the eclipse. But also, I think I spoke about this in last month's transmission. It's a really big, potent time for things like ancestral work. It's not, this portal's not going to go away, but for a lot of people who are already on a path of awareness of multidimensionality, it's a very big opportunity. And we just hosted a real-time immersion with pranayama and looking at some of these concepts. And it was a very deep journey for people. And I really look forward to what this is lining up to. And I think that November is always a month which really helps us to go through life, death, rebirth patterns. And as you'll see, that's definitely the case this particular month. So I'm having problems getting my little cursor to go to the next page. Let's just see why that is. Why are you being like this, my friend? Okay, cool. So again, most of you have already seen my transmissions on this channel. I have a larger transmission, which is available. I have an even longer transmission available for those who are really keen to find out more. And today I'm going to just say that I am very, very excited because non-dual astrology for me has really helped me to dance with the celestial bodies and to find the meaning and triangulation for people's soul journey in a better, more finite way. And every time I do more training in astrology, I find another branch which shows how our evolutionary journey is working and always further mirrors what is coming through in whatever we see when we triangulate. And I'm very, very excited because something wonderful, I believe, for our planetary collective journey is unfolding right now. It's going to take some time, but this concept of non-dual triangulated astrology, it's not new. The Kalachakra astrology, which has been partially sustained and partially forgotten or kept in different fragments, also talks of this. And I'm going to be getting more and more involved in Kalachakra astrology. I already am, but in coming years, I really look forward to be able to share more on this channel so that you can all really optimize your journey of awakening, of remembering, of stepping into your higher Dharma. So yeah, watch this space. There's too much to say and it's early days, but it's a very, very exciting thing that's happening. Just a little ruthless plug for what's going on with Dharma Stars at the moment. I'd really like to mention my book, Dakini Weaving, Keys to the Golden Age. And I'm prompted to do that because in the last week, I've seen several people talk about the new earth, and I'm seeing people that I know feel somehow in their being that it's time to start to talk more about this. And so if you would like to understand more about what the possible new earth is and some of the already ripened conditions we have to enter into that, and some more structure behind how that might look, drawing on actual law from Dharma, from indigenous science and cosmic law, then you might benefit from this book, which is available on Amazon and and will be in bookshops probably next year. We just did a launch tribal council in Belfast. It wasn't our first launch. We're doing little book tour parties. We have them in a tribal council format, and we just did one in Belfast. We've got one in London on the 11th of November. And so if you're in London, do pop along. It's just donations, which cover cacao. And it will be, I love these sessions because they really are keeping in the spirit of the book. It's about us weaving together. It's not about me talking. And what's really coming to the surface each time we do one of these is the amount of people who are sacred activists within and who are struggling to find connection, who are worried about the big disconnect, and who are waiting to find other sacred activists. So, both the template of these events that we do and the book are there to really, really help us, especially from what is going to come in 2025. It's big, and this is why the book was prepared for this year, so the people who are already feeling they want to line up to something can get ready. Okay. What else should I tell you? Yeah, our Ancestral Work as Sacred Activism course just launched a few days ago, just as we came into the Kame Trisena, which is all about life, death, rebirth. And again, it's very timely and big, and I'm so grateful to be joined on that course by Leela Lieberman, a very dear old. She's not old, but we have been friends for a long time. And Neil Davis, who I've also known quite a long time. We're both Sangomas from South African lineages, and yeah, it's very deep weaving. And so, if you're feeling you would like to understand more about ancestral work, but also understand how it can fit into this concept of sacred activism, of the golden age, then I encourage you to find out more. We also have, sorry, I just got something stuck in my throat. It's funny because we've been doing a lot around what has been trapped, and the course itself offers a journey to also connect to one's ancestors and to process that which they were not able to process. Where we're at right now, we often feel very encumbered and held back and paralyzed in our path and in our karma because we haven't had the opportunity to process grand traumas that got carried down through the ancestral line. And now we have the tools and the insights to be able to decompress from that. And this is why I'm very, very excited about the coming years, because as more and more people stand up to understand how to do this work and to embrace it, we are really going to evolve into a new sort of human. Because imagine who we are if we're not identified by that. So we are offering for people who want to maybe try it out. People can sign up just for the first 2 lessons and pay a reduced price and see if it's a good fit. So we're taking registration up to November the 20th. And then after that, people can maybe buy the pre-record, but they won't be allowed to be in the constellation. So if you would like to be part of a team of very committed people with a lot of tools and modalities available also to support people on their journey while they do this on a supplementary level, then please get in touch. Okay, so where are we now in the timelines? I'm just going to make my little thing. I never tell if you see my Padma Kandro thing. Let me know if you can see that. Okay, so in general astrology, I think we know that November and late October represent the Samhain portal in Celtic lore. And this is also accentuated around the world. We have the Day of the Dead and really the Days of the Dead in early November in Mexico. And right here, right now, I'm in Slovenia, and we're going to be doing some big work on an area where there were a lot of fatalities in the First World War in a few days. And it just so happened that it decided it had to happen on the 1st of November because of availability, geography, all of these things. And that, for the Slovenians, is their Dead People Day. And so all around the world, this is an important time of honoring that ancestral field, honoring the ones who came before us, who we inherited various traits and characteristics from, and who really mark a substantial amount of our karma that we bring into this life. And in a minute, I'm going to be showing you just how beautifully everything's lining up through the systems that we look at, because it really is that time, not only in the fact that every November, that's what it is, but actually what's going on in the Mayan calendar is exactly that right now. So that's really amazing. We also have Saturn going direct. Saturn's been retrograding for a while, and Saturn's going direct mid-month. And I think we can see quite a distinction between early month and mid-month. And we'll talk about that as we proceed. And then also we're going to have another Mercury retrograde, which we have a lot of retrograde energy around at the moment. It's definitely not It's not just full power, let's go. And we'll be talking about that later. I alluded to it in the last transmission, but certainly Mars is behaving in a fascinating way, and for an elongated length of time. We have Mars really transiting in and out of Gemini and Cancer. And right now it's in Cancer, where it's really very unhappy on many levels. It's just, yeah, it's in its unhappy place, and it's thirsty, it's debilitated, it's not moving well. And this means that our energy levels, our work life, our stamina, for everybody, we just don't have the deeper vital energy that sometimes we're used to. And this is elongated. This is going on until June, and it's going to make us slow down, to introspect, to be ready for what is coming in 2025. And if you read my book, you'll see that I speak quite a lot of 2025. It's really unveiling a new sort of less self-centered, more humble form of spirituality for those who are ready to do that. And yeah, it's just absolutely amazing what we see coming forth from the celestial bodies, because Mars is hampered. Mars is slowing us down. It's great, because if we decide rather that we want to do our inner work and work on our residues, this is really, really wonderful, because for many people for the global north, it's winter. And it's this great time to just go slower and do the work. And I know a lot of people have decided this is the time I need to get my health sorted. I'm going to be needed next year. I need to just go in and do the work. And so if you're feeling that, I really do encourage you to step forward into that, because it's not to say you won't be able to work, but you're just going to find sometimes that the work may even seem like it's piling up if you take too much on, because you may not have the same stamina and drive. Sometimes things will feel thwarted. And as we go into 2025, we have a lot of retrograde energy in the field. So this is a really great time for reliving things. I know that when we just did our journey with the Serpents of Transformation, many people, and myself included, were going through these very ancient feelings that they felt beyond the self. And moreover, for all of us, it was like, I thought I'd done my work on this, but it was feeling bigger. But what was happening was that we were realizing that we were not just blended with it. So we were not mindful of it, that we had a newfound relationality to it, where we could see what we were working through and experience it, but experience it from a mindful position. And that's actually a very, very important thing in terms of overcoming karma, not overcoming it, but antidoting it, and taking karma into propelling us towards more dharma, is that really we are going through these massive patterns right now that have been stuck in our family lines for millennia across space and time, and are a manifestation of what it is to be a multidimensional person. And if we slow down, we will see what we need to see, and we will still have enough energy to do what we need to do in the 3D world. But Mars doesn't want us racing ahead. Mars doesn't want us to not notice. Mars wants us to understand. And every day right now, I am getting insights through meditation, and I am seeing more through my own astrological chart. Okay, yes, this is really what defines my spiritual journey. Yes, no, this is not where I need to be. This one is where I need to be. And there's like a nano laser surgery going on, which is really actually connecting me to the rapture of the divine journey that we're all on. And if I didn't have that slowed down, slightly sluggish energy at times and decide, okay, I'm just going to meditate, I would be missing this. So I really, really, really encourage you to just take this time, which is going to be until June, to know that this is to lighten your load, so that we can all come together to really work with this new earth energy from 2025. Okay, so we're now going to go into the Mayan calendar. And as I mentioned earlier, we have this beautiful mirroring through what is taking place in the Tracena over these last days of October into the early November days, is we're in Kame. And Kame is death. It is the beginning of transformation. Okay. And so it is honoring that for every death, there is rebirth. For every breath, there is a life, death, rebirth. And therefore, old bits of ourselves are dying. And I think a lot of people are also realizing this in terms of the outmoded parts of the patriarchy. Please note I say outmoded parts because I'm not here to slam men or all institutions. I'm just here to say there's stuff that's ready to go. And many, many astrologers are really looking at what's unfolding for 2025. And I think that there's such a great amount of discontent around inequality, governance, banking systems, war, all of these things on the planet that I think we can feel we're busting for something. And next year, you can really see it in the astrology. So, in order for that to take place, something has to die. We have to look at this squarely in the face and also look at where that rides through us. And that's what I feel is really going on right now. We can talk all we like about system change and project that outwards, but we have to all look at the manifestation of that karma as being a legacy that we've inherited and something that ripened within us, and look at what needs to die within. And as such, sometimes that makes us feel incredibly contracted, incredibly dualistic, incredibly victimized. And if we can just honor that that there are sacred actors whose function is to make us feel that way, but to realize that nobody's actually doing that to us. This is how our karma is responding as it's activating within us. We can actually understand this is a ripening, and we can respond rather than react intelligently. So this is why I feel this lens we're getting where we have more mindfulness over, oh my goodness, this really triggered me, and I need to act, is really good, because we may be given the opportunity to override trauma defaults that we used to sit in, like, okay, I'm just going to sit like drinking vodka all day, or I'm just going to go and have sex with loads of people. I'm just going to make myself feel better, okay? Or I'm just going to check out and numb out, or I'm actually so paralyzed I can't do anything, or I'm just going to, I'm going to go to war with everybody. And I think there's a deeper intelligence with this as to within our Dharma, where do we really need to be? Okay. And to just not personalize it, not think that you are the victim, that somebody's doing something to you, but to see what it's letting you step into. So it's often the universe will play out something to us that is really saying you don't need to be there anymore. You can move, right? And I'm seeing some people who are really stuck, and it's like terrible things are happening to them. But if once they get out of the trauma responding to it, they can maybe realize, wow, actually, I don't have to be in the prison anymore. I've just been told to go to where I'm supposed to go to. Okay. And so for some of us, that does mean a radical death. Okay. And I think what's been coming through for me in the recent weeks is, okay, I'm in a female body in this life. And there are a lot of things that are residues of the outmoded patriarchy that were only ever done in the masculine way. And sometimes that presents as the only way to do things. I've seen this play out through plant medicine world, through Dharma institutions, through teaching institutions. And I know a lot of people who've experienced this recently through statutory bodies, stuff like that. And there's been a blind spot from the side of what we would call the patriarchy, that there's actually that different people have different ways of processing information, and that just because something was made by a bunch of people from a particular demographic, that doesn't mean that's the only way. And there's a really big blind spot about that. But and what I've been really realizing is that's the trauma actually of the people from that patriarchal positioning. And there needs to just be a gentle moving away from that, okay? Because we can't fix samsara from within samsara. We have to go to a higher ground. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm going to give examples of things like, for instance, a lot of women when they're training and things like working with ayahuasca, they'll get given what a man's dose is, but a woman doesn't necessarily. Not all women need that, okay? And then they can often be told there's something wrong with them, that they can't have the man's dose. And there are also situations where people will say these are spiritual teachings, but it's all done from a very empirical, Western, academic, masculine debating society sort of style, rather than maybe looking at, well, maybe we just need to sit in heart coherence and intuition and work with that. And that there has just been this unconscious pecking order that which is not the institutional way of working with it is lesser. And I know for people of color and indigenous people, this is the daily battle, which then makes people very dysregulated, because there's this colonized framework that becomes the paradigm, where actually there are multiple ways of approaching something. And so for many of us, we need to just realize that we don't need to sit there being deactivated in the wrong settings, but to start to find the kindred spirits, find the people who process and work this in a similar way, and form our own little mini ecosystems. And that doesn't mean that the other way is wrong. It just means that we don't necessarily have to try to work in that way. And we are allowed to call out that that's a blind spot to suggest that is the only way. So I feel that there's a big death of being only subordinated into those settings and looking at where that sits in our DNA. And this is why, personally, in the last few weeks, I've found astrology incredibly helpful, because I've been able to laser focus with different settings of my blueprint, my karmic blueprint, and see where that arises and do work through that. So we have a lot of things like shame, or having been told we're not good enough, all of these things that are manifestations that you can see in someone's birth chart. And I feel that there's a death of that taking place, but it's pretty uncomfortable at times. But really what is coming is this deeper focus on where we're really supposed to be. And that's further accentuated because mid-month, we come into the depths of Kawok, the midwife. So we're coming into this very potent rebirth energy. And you're going to see that when we look, as I say, Saturn's going to go direct on the 17th. So it's very, very exciting because, yeah, it's not comfortable. And I think a lot of people are finding it's very hard to communicate. It's quite hard to be outer or to fully engage with others with full presence sometimes, because we're quite saturated with energies, because we're moving through such a lot. And a lot of people can even feel that as interference. But what I would say is it's really important to try to not go into fear-based narratives at the moment, because there is a lot of energy that's going to need to move alongside what we're going through. And so if you can imagine all that energy is floating around, if you are in the middle of trying to fight everything and see everything as bad evil versus good, and make everything a war, you'll find that you won't have vital energy needed to go into the higher part of this upgrade. So I would stay away from big conspiracy theories. And I know there's the US election and all these things coming, because these things can eat you up, okay, and distract you from actually going to the upper path, right? Just focus on the fact that you're having a rebirth, and that you really need your vital energy to have enough self-love to go into that process, because otherwise it's just going to be like you're going to be eaten, right? Because there are all these other energies around that will destabilize you if you choose to keep thinking it's a war, okay? And just see it all as a sign that lots is allowed to leave. Okay, so I really, really want to encourage that, because I'm seeing some people who are really floundering because they're letting fear and duality eat away. Okay, just remember we're here to create a golden age, a new earth timeline. Just keep, even if you have to say, I'm here for the new earth, I'm here for the new earth, I'm here to create the golden age. Keep reminding yourself of that. Then that will help you to stay into a more altruistic state, and it will actually release the interference. Okay, it will let you process in more peace. Okay, so then, end of the month, again, we've come from death into new birth, and then we come into which is the road, the path. So here we are setting out on a new path in life at the beginning of the journey. The journey is not complete, so do not think that it is complete. And it is a stabilization, I would say, from what this batch of eclipses were sharing with us. But that eclipse energy, those themes are going to come back in March and April. So just know that there's like a stabilizing from this quite destabilizing time we've had, and get ready for more insights. But at least you may find that you're more functional by the end of the month. Okay, I'm having problems getting my little button back again. Come on. It's just weird today. I apologize about this. It's just, come on, you. Okay, how are we going to get here? There we go. Okay. And now we're just going to go into the Dreamspell calendar. And so as you're listening to this, we'll just have come out of the Serpent Wave spell. So this has been all about our relationship to power. And this is why, for many people, the karma around power has been manifesting around their being. And also, this can have been changing our relationship to death, which is aligned with what's going on with Kame, our relationship to sexuality, to the ego, and to the material. Okay, so it can be quite a humbling time, or some people will go into a very over-egoic state. But you may have found that it's been a sobering time, and you've seen some of your delusions, which is a good thing. It's a very important time overall karmically for us to be working with our sexual energy, our inner fire, and to be doing that and learning to hold that in a pure way rather than leaky way. So this is all very pertinent to what's going on and what's going to come to a pinnacle moment in early 2025. Okay. Now, we're also, right now at the time of making this transmission, we're in the middle of some gap days, galactic activation portals, which are days when, again, we are able to do quantum work much more effectively, where it is symbolized by a double helix structure symbol. And therefore, this ability to pull material out of our timelines and from the ancestral field is very, very optimized. And from the 2nd to the 14th, we go into the mirror, which later on in the mirror wave spell, we go right into the Shushumna, the central channel of the zodiac, as Jose Arguelles denoted it. And yeah, so this whole thing, as we're in this soup, there's going to be a lot of cosmic mirroring. And I'll give you an example. Even though we're not in that today, because I'm making the transmission, things will come to me. And we're going to do some work on Friday, and one of the Slovenian sisters said, oh, we need red, white, and blue flowers. I'll explain to you later. And I woke up today in my hotel, and I looked out, and right opposite me, just there's only one, but there's a red, white, and blue flag. And I was like, there's the red, white, and blue. And then another sister messaged and said, oh, I had a dream, and there was healing taking place. I feel like there was something that you and I did, and it's really helped me in some way. And she's Italian, okay? And we're going to be on the Slovenian-Italian border. So, yeah, there's going to be this mirror which is going to help you to understand what you're needing to clear and move through. And often the mirror is there to help you to change from being this blended person who's just triggered by this ripening of karma to understanding, wow, I am seeing this and I actually have mindfulness over it. So really looking at what your mirror is reflecting to you over these weeks will really help you to understand more. I'll give another example is I've just been doing some research for a course, and then I ended up on a rabbit hole around some other yogas in astrology, and it helped me to find more about something I'd been pondering on just in the last few weeks about my own path. And I've woken up with this sense of calm and knowing that's just reminded me across space and time about what I'm here to help with. And so the universe is trying to communicate with you, is what I want to say. And if you optimize your intentionality to receive pure messages, you will be able to do a great amount of divination to help you weather the storms ahead in the coming year or so. There are insights to your pathway coming through. We also then, from 15th to the 27th, go into the monkey wave spell. And monkey is chicky chappy. Monkey is connected to the inner child. It can be a lot about regaining joy. It can be very sobering when we're confronted with the ripening of karma. We can have shame. We can feel like we're not good enough. We feel like anything we do is never enough. We feel somehow tarnished. And the monkey is very timely in its arrival, and it's also in the Sushumna central channel to remind us of our sacred container and to have real joy with our bhakti, real joy with our devotional service, real joy with how we live this life. And yeah, so for some of you, this can mark the time to do some surgery to receive some healing on your inner child. And if anybody needs that, we do inner child Saccred work and also psychotherapies and quantum art therapy. So sometimes we have this data that is sitting where we've had a lot of very key trauma that manifests, core childhood traumas. That's really the ripening of karma that sits in our timeline. And it's often, as we're doing all this ancestral work, then the next thing to do is look at how the inner child is, what manifested through where we grew up, the trials and tribulations of those epochs, and how we can create a more healthy timeline where we can release from these imprints of things like guilt and shame, self-loathing, all of those things. And I think that that's also a thing that holds us back from our dharma. We think I'm not good enough. And what we need to realize is the way karma works is it ripens. So if something comes and it slaps you, and we have these moments of where karma is going to ripen across our life. And so a lot of this early childhood stuff is key stuff in our blueprint, but it's there to not hold on to. And this is what we often do, is we cling to all of that. And the universe is really wanting us to step up by 2025. And therefore, when we've been doing this surgery and seeing these psychopathologies of our ancestors or certain hereditary traits or legacy burdens that we've got, that's one thing. But then the other thing is what's manifested in my blueprint that's made me feel like shame, or that I never know where my place is, all of these sorts of things. And there's always something that's a tractor point that you can see in someone's early chart, which is also tied up with trauma theory, where they say the main part of our life's material is all there before 5 years old. So doing surgery and doing work later in the month on that is really, really optimum, because you're going to be able to line up your central channel with the actual celestial central channel. So if you do work and surgery on that, you are basically fulfilling a sacred yoga that is in keeping with things like Kalachakra Tantra. So it's very, very exciting. And then, not unlike the energy that we see in the Mayan symbols, with the Mayan system, is that we have the seed wave spell from the 20th of November. That's incorrect. It must be the 28th. It's not the 2nd of December. Forgive my typo there. So it'll be more like the 8th of December, something like that. And 8th or 10th. So anyway, that's all about, well, the seed is obviously about germinating, putting something in, finding a new target, letting something else bloom and flower. But there's also a very big energy with seed energy, which is about learning what you're going to take on to the next chapter. Are you going to take all your ancestors' dirty laundry and all those afflictions, or are you going to let them go so that you can really germinate into full bloom? Okay, so what are you going to bring? You know, the ancestors, our karmic journey always brings out profound insights as to how we are going to be higher service in this body. So the seed is really there to optimize our decision making process around that, and also it's urging us to release the heavy baggage so that we can blossom. All right, now then Vedic astrology. So what's going on here? So Venus is going to go into Mula on the 7th, and Mercury is going to go into Jeshta. And so Mula is all about getting to the roots of things. It's the galactic center, and it is not superficial. And so Venus is our interactions, our, you know, the people in the outer world. It's also our sense of comfort and wealth, and there's a certain amount of creativity with Venus as well. And so there's the fact, and Venus is the most, you know, fun loving in many ways of the planets, but it's going right into the roots of things. And so Venus is not remotely superficial here. Venus is maybe looking at where we crave comfort as a coping strategy, where we have soothers or firefighters, as we call them in internal family systems. So it's very interesting because Venus is going to go on this interesting activation next year where I see this new priestesshood arise. And so Venus is taking us into some of the depths, and it may show us the depths of how we distract ourselves from doing our real Dharma, how much Netflix we watch, how much small talk we do, how we mask our trauma. And it will also take us into the roots of our roots, the family line, all of these things. And Mercury, our intellect, our communication, is in Jeshta. Jeshta is like the chief star. And Jeshta can be really about elders, and it has a leadership quality to it. But if there was one star system that was really aligned with the concept of elders and elderhood, this would be Jeshta, and about respecting the elders. So it can be that this is a good time to seek counsel with those who are, you know, maybe more experienced on a path than you, to help guide you in your process and journey. So if you know an elder, to reach out to them, or if you have people who are more senior in your circles, then to communicate with them to get some perspective to help you on your journey. And, you know, we've got the mirror going on there in the Dreamspell calendar. So it's this thing of finding a cosmic mirror who can help you. Often we cannot see everything alone. Look at why monkeys need each other to pick the little things out of their back. And so seeking counsel, not from like some kid who's got a really nice, slick channel, but to honor that there are people who've gone this journey before, people who can see, people can help you with the blind spots. This is a very good time for that. And we see that mirrored through mirror. Okay. Now, Sun is also debilitated until the 17th. And this means that our ego energy, our shiny, super bright being is for everybody. It's not all in full power, which is great because that really helps us to not go over the top and to keep doing the work right now. And then we're going to feel a little bit more dynamic illumination energy coming in. Okay. So it's a really good time to really work on finding your Buddha nature, your self energy. And it can feel difficult sometimes when the sun is debilitated because it doesn't have its full self-confidence. But that's good because we need to use humility right now, because only by expressing remorse and having a sobriety check around some of the things we may have done in past lives or even this life, and not to be over egoic so that we just bypass from it. That's actually really helpful with the mechanism of what's taking place. And similarly, we've still got Saturn retrograding in Shatabishak, and Shatabishak's quite a hermit sort of nakshatra. And so there's quite a lot going on where Saturn is letting us revisit karma. And it's really interesting because the sun illuminates on the 17th and Saturn goes direct on the 17th. And there's this forward motion. So, but we have to go through the karma right now. Just do it. Okay. And so this is all accentuating as well, what you see in the Dreamspell. And also in the Mayan calendar, we have these new birth, gestation energies, finding the way, all of these things coming from mid-month. I just love this stuff. It's just so fascinating how it all dances. So yeah, and yeah, Shadabishak's also a really good time to do work with astrology, Shadabishak and healing. Okay, so we're already in retrograde with Shatabishak, and it's called the 100 Physicians. So it's a really good time as well. This is why I think a lot of people realize it's time to get well, do energy work, things like Sekem, astro readings, even some of these novel vibrational healings that you can do. These are all going to be helpful at this time. And so to utilize this Shatabishak window, because Saturn has been dancing in and out of Shatabishak for some time. This is its last journey in Shatabishak, and then it's going to go right up through into Pisces for next year. So this is a good time if you want to get a reading or optimize your journey. And it may be also that if you are a practitioner, this is where you've been getting some final codes through your own inner work. And then from the 17th, it's going to help you know how you're going to use your new tools from 2025. I think that's what's really going on for a lot of people in a very subtle but important manner. So then we have on the 28th, Jupiter's already retrograde, but it's going to go into Rohini from Mrigashira. And Rohini is quite a lot about trading of ideas and things. So again, what I'm saying about what your offerings may be, if you're working with healing in some way or working to support people in some way, in some Aquarian new earth way, is that Jupiter is going to be making you have a bit of a rethink about what it is you trade ideas with. And this is all an echo of what's been taking place in these eclipses, which we then go back into in March next year. So I think a lot of people have been getting these light bulb moments and thinking, I know what I do. And then they're like, oh, I don't know what I do. And so there's a going back to the drawing board with how do I trade? How do I share ideas? What is my cultural creative expression? And how do I create value with that? And it's a really good time to do some work with helping humanitarian organizations or charitable endeavors, because Rohini lends itself to that sort of sharing of ideas and energy. So if you want to actually get more insight on your Dharma, you can do some self-service, and that will actually help you with any of the confusion that's going to be there for a while with Jupiter retrograding Rohini. But this is really good because it's going to help you when that goes direct. It's going to help you to really get on course, not with a diluted version of what you think you are here to do, but something that's really unique. Okay. And I think that a lot of people, what I see a lot of is copycat stuff out there, and people don't really have anything that's really theirs. And there's going to be more and more pressure put on that in the coming times, because people are going to realize, wow, there are actually lots of people doing what I do. And so spending some time journaling and giving offerings and praying to receive more insight about who you interact with and what you share, what you bring to the table, that will be really good use of your time in this coming month or so. And then I mentioned earlier that we've got this Mars that's very slow and sluggish. I don't mean it's totally defunct of energy, but this is really, again, another mechanism which is saying, guys, you don't know what's coming. You do not know what's going to change. So why spend your energy really being greedy and materialistic about thinking you are a certain way? Because that's all going to change in 2025. And you know, the more work we do lightening ourselves, we're more as a collective, we are going to become something that we can't even probably comprehend. So there's a sacred mechanism with that, with Mars just saying, oh, Mars is actually sitting really wanting nourishment and things like that, which is a big oxymoron. Okay, but this is why we're going to need more self-care, things like that. There's a bit of a push-pull because that doesn't, Mars wants to work, but then there's this desire around comfort and self-care, and that a lot of this is trauma wiring. So that can be quite frustrating, but also it's there to make sure that we're not going to think, I am this, this is what I bring to the world, because we're going to peak too early if we do that. And therefore, if you get it that you don't always have to be super productive and the winner of everything, you will take this transit really well, because you will come out more robust, because you can look after yourself, you can do things, you will be looked after. You just have to know that it might not be as epic and as yang as your head might want you to be. And that head wanting it to be is the programming of the outmoded patriarchal structure. So there's this pressure that's been put on this programming we all have to always be doing and always be successful and always have everything happening all the time, that it's just a little bit thwarted, okay? But it's also helping us to not have to redo things down the line. It's so amazing. Okay, so synthesis is as, oh, it does this every time, and I say this every time too, and I can't get my little button. Hang on about this. I'm sorry about this funny little setup this time. Okay. Welcome all. Okay, so birth, death, and rebirth themes are aligned, as we saw, both in the fact that it's November, and also you can see how it's dancing through the celestial bodies. So it's a really optimized Halloween, if that's what you call it, Samhain, dead people portal time. This is just amazing. And so this is a really good time for your own death. I don't mean that, you know, go and die physically. I mean, whoever your 1.5 version was, you're beyond 5.0, you know, keep going, okay? So do make the way and the time for these bigger shifts to come through, and do honor that we are in an introspective time, and that if you are having these kind of flashbacks or rememberings, or somehow the past is revisiting in some way, that's okay. This is important. This is an important dissolve that we all have to make. And I'm incredibly excited to think about what's going to unfold. And I'd love to hear from some of you about how this all works for you, because it really helps us to understand the way the timelines work. As I've said, from mid-month, there's this more futuristic, joyful energy and surgery possibility available to help to make the future timeline more tangible. And as we've said, the residues and outmoded patriarchal constructs are falling away, and we are experiencing that on a cellular karmic level. It's massive. It's so cool if we look at it, and everybody can benefit from this. And just remember, this is all just old stuff in everybody that's going away. So try to depersonalize it. Do not think that somebody is something. Just see that this is an actor to help me have discomfort with this, to help me do my work on this, and just move through the lessons and the teachings quickly and impeccably, and you will fare well, okay? This is a major window for working through burdens, parts, trauma patterning, and not to rush. Don't rush it. Treat it like an exam that you need to study for, and commit to this. And truly, you will really be so celebratory when you start to realize the wow, the grand mystery that is unfolding for us, and just what may be being asked of you in the not too distant future. So I give gratitude to you all for listening. I give gratitude to Jose Arguelles, to Mark Elmy, to the Daykeepers of the Mayan lands, to the Rishis, the celestial bodies, and to Ganesha, the patron deity of Jyotish, the science of light. Om Shrim Ganganapataye Namaha.